Now call this meeting to order. We'll ask the clerk to read the meeting and call the roll.
Roll call: Murguia. Maddox.
Here.
Kane. Here. Markley.
Here.
Walters. Here. Philbrook.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Holland.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Reverend Ken Netling of Faith Lutheran Church. Please stand for the prayer and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our gracious God, we lift up your name and give you thanks for all the blessings of life that you bestow upon us, especially on this first day of spring. And we're grateful for that. We just want you to keep it that way. And yet we know that's not always our way, but your way is the one way. Surround us, Lord, with your presence. Bless those who gather, and especially our elected officials. Protect our police and fire and paramedics and sheriff as our first responders, because they do an awesome task. And grant us your peace this evening. We pray all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Netling, for being here tonight. Ms. Godsell, are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
Yes, Mayor. A blue sheet has been distributed indicating under the administrator's agenda, item number 1 should read a 101 presentation rather than a 1-on-1 regarding the operation of the Motor Vehicle Department. Under the Land Bank Board of Trustees agenda, item number 1 regarding land bank policies is being deleted from tonight's agenda. Item number 2 now becomes item number 1 under the Land Bank Board of Trustees consent agenda regarding a technical assistance scholarship program. Those are all the amendments, Mayor.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the beginning of tonight's agenda, which is the mayor's agenda, and the first item is a proclamation proclaiming the month of March as Problem Gambling Awareness Month. I'd invite Ms. Wilcoxon to please come forward to the podium as the clerk reads the proclamation.
The proclamation reads, whereas the Northeast Kansas Problem Gambling Task Force mission is to raise awareness of and provides education to individuals, families, and communities to reduce the harmful effects of problem gambling, and whereas promoting the Awareness Month provides individuals in the problem gambling community an opportunity to educate the public and policymakers about the social and financial effectiveness of services available for problem gambling. And whereas problem gambling is a public health issue affecting tens of thousands of Kansans of all ages, races, and ethnic backgrounds in all communities, and which has a significant social and economic cost, and whereas problem gambling is treatable and treatment is effective in minimizing the harm to both individuals and society as a whole. And whereas numerous individuals, professionals, and organizations have dedicated their efforts to the education of the public about problem gambling and the availability and effectiveness of treatment. Now therefore, I, Mark R. Holland, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2014 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month in Kansas City, Kansas, and encourage all citizens to help spread the message that there is help for problem gamblers through treatment and to support those who are in treatment and recovery and their families. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and the seal of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, this 20th day of March 2014. Signed, Mayor Mark R. Holland.
Hi, thank you so much for allowing us to be here tonight and for signing this proclamation. Our Northeast Problem Gambling Task Force is right over there, is here, and we are excited to be able to continue to partner with other organizations in our county to create a healthier Wyandotte County. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your work. We might remember that when we approved having a casino in the community, a part of those revenues are set aside to help support problem gaming recovery and treatment. And it's an important function that you all provide, and we very much appreciate your work on it and the opportunity to raise the awareness of the issue, because it is an issue that cuts across all groups in our community. So thank you very much for your continued work on that. All right, before we move forward, I would like to recognize that we have an elected official, another elected official in the room. Crystal Watson with District 500 is here. We appreciate your being here. And I don't believe we have other elected officials here at this time. That brings us to tonight's consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Would anyone in attendance tonight or any member of the commission like to set aside an item? Any items that are not set aside will be considered in a single vote.
Move for approval.
Second.
Let the record show I see no one coming forward to set any item aside. It is properly moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox.
Aye.
Kane. Aye. Markley.
Aye.
Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
McKiernan.
Aye.
The motion carries 8-0.
That brings us now to our administrator's agenda. We have a single item, a presentation regarding the motor vehicle department.
Thank you, Mayor. In keeping with different programs that we've set out and talking about discussions on departments, tonight we've brought forward our Treasury Department, which it's listed here as motor vehicle, but we want to talk about the overall department nature, what they do in Treasury, and then also in motor vehicle. Probably in difference to what we've done with the other 101 type presentations. With the many issues we know with the delays that are out there with motor vehicle, Ms. Pack is here tonight. We'll also offer some recommendations about different things we are considering as we look forward within that department. So at this time, I'll turn it over to our County Treasurer, Debbie Pack.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, administrative staff, and guests. Thank you for the opportunity to share our department with you this evening. I would like to introduce, first of all, a couple of people that I've brought with me this evening. I brought with me Carla Heaven, she's our motor vehicle program coordinator, and Maddie Waldeck, who is one of our fiscal support specialists in the motor vehicle department. I also have to give Maddie kudos for our PowerPoint presentation tonight. Our Treasury coordinator, Tina Lopez, was on vacation, so she was unable to join us tonight. I will try not to overwhelm you with numbers tonight, but we are the Treasury. We like our numbers. What is the Treasury? The Treasury Department is responsible for tax collection, banking, and vehicle registration. Treasury collected and distributed in excess of $200 million in 2013. We are not only money collectors, but a huge part of our responsibility is customer service. We are one of the only departments in the city that every citizen in Wyandotte County will probably interact with, and we take that very seriously. We have 2 office locations, one in the downtown courthouse and one at 8200 State, our annex location. The department is comprised of 2 divisions, the Treasury side and the motor vehicle side. As you can see, the budgets look nearly the same, but if you look closer, you'll see that 2/3 of the personnel are utilized by motor vehicle. A big part of the Treasury budget is large because it's dedicated to the annual publication, printing costs, and software costs. The Treasury division can be divided into 4 major areas: tax collection, cash investments, support, and collection for other UG departments. The tax collection area collects both real estate and personal property taxes. Collections are done in person, by mail, through a lockbox at peak times, and over the web. Tax collection is responsible for sending out approximately 78,000 tax notices in November and reminders again in April every year. They're also responsible for working with mortgage companies to collect taxes that are paid through escrow accounts, processing homestead payments that are sent from the state, and making notifications to delinquent taxpayers. They are also responsible for the annual publication of delinquent taxes. Tax collection also administers over 600 neighborhood revitalization participants. They work closely with delinquent tax in assisting redemption of properties off the tax sale and collecting taxes through the set-off program. They offer and administer tax payment plans for taxpayers to help them avoid sale of their property. The cash investments area reviews cash flow needs, invests idle funds of the UG to maximize investment revenues, and tracks collateral in accordance with UG investment policies and procedures. At the end of 2013, cash investments was tracking over 20 investments. The support area includes a phone bank for the purpose of answering questions, constituent questions specifically regarding taxes and registration of vehicles. They answer anywhere from 3,000 to 4,000 calls per month. It also includes a fiscal support area which provides other support for the department. This includes submission and tracking of bankruptcy claims by our taxpayers. We currently receive 7 to 10 new claims per month and are tracking 250 to 300 open cases. Bad check collection and tracking, a daily recon of the UG operating account, processing refunds due to changes in tax amounts and motor vehicle refunds, and distribution of funds collected on behalf of all taxing unities in the county are also responsibilities of this area. The other collection area works closely with departments to assure that funds coming into the UG are accurate and posted to the correct areas. These include parking, court payments, and all other deposits made into the UG operating account. This area also administers payments for the fire insurance proceeds account. The motor vehicle division can be broken down into 3 broad areas: renewals, new registrations, and salvage and dealer work. Renewals are received via the web, through the mail, or in person. Our web and mail consists of about 18 to 20% of all renewals, compared to about 40% for some of the other large counties around this area. Approximately 114,000 renewals were processed in the motor vehicle department in 2013. New registrations by individuals must come into the office and present all necessary documents. Last year, we processed over 37,000 new registrations. New registrations also require an approval by a second personnel in the Treasury office prior to the title actually being printed in Topeka. Salvage and dealer work includes local auto auction companies, large and small dealers who bring in or mail in their work to be processed for themselves or for their customers. On average, we get about 50 to 60 of these a day. This title work also requires the approval process. Our current setup has renewal customers coming directly into the office into a separate line where they can be processed and receive their stickers and be out the door in a fairly quick manner. All other new registrations come into the office and go through an information clerk who does a basic review of all the documents in order so the customer doesn't have to wait twice. Once this has been done, the customer receives a number and waits for the next available clerk. On average, we get about 60 to 70 new registrations a day at each location. However, on peak days, we can see over 100 at each location. Once the clerk verifies that all documents are acceptable and present, she enters the vehicle, customer, and insurance information into the system. And if you'll remember from your own title work, a VIN has 16 digits. So it's important that this attention to detail is there. After entering everything and verifying the payment amount, the clerk collects payment and gives the customer their receipt and registration and plate, and they're out the door. Once the clerk has processed the paperwork, at the end of the day, this bundle of 50 to 100 packets of title work are now bundled and sent to one approver responsible for each location and type of transaction. The approver must review that all documents meet statutory requirements and that the clerk entered and processed the vehicle correctly. Once she is confident that the vehicle is okay, she approves the transaction. Then and only then will the title be printed in Topeka. Remember, titles in Kansas are not printed if liens exist on the vehicle, and titles are not printed for 35 days after the purchase of a vehicle in order for lien holders to have the ability to go in and put liens on those vehicles. So the minimum amount of time the customer waits is 35 days. If the documentation is not acceptable, a letter must be sent by our office to the customer requesting additional information, the transaction is flagged, and the title will not print. From these processes, we have run into several issues. First, customers waiting in the lobby sometimes experience long wait times. In February 2014, these were on average of 4 hours. Because there's fewer approvers are trying to review the paperwork of many clerks, and more importantly, because these approvers are constantly being pulled off of their duties to go out, answer questions, and talk to customers and make decisions, this work does not get done within the 35 days we have before a title should print. The titles that required additional information have not been addressed due to other priorities. This number is somewhere around 2,000 and continues to grow. Salvage and dealer work has taken a lower priority to those customers walking in the door, so this work is taking a lot longer than the customer expects. We have had one salvage customer who has taken all of their work to other counties at the approval of the state. Personnel fatigue. Motor vehicle staff members have put in over 280 overtime hours in the first 10 weeks of this year. This, along with a constant lobby full of unhappy people and often crying children, has caused obvious effects on personnel. Many have applied for positions and accepted positions in other places in the UG. We currently and constantly try to take steps to minimize the issues that we run into. Each day, we analyze the number of people that are walking in the door. We try to calculate the amount of time that it's taking to process each of those people, and we make decisions on whether we should cut off those titles early. Our normal cutoff times are Monday and Friday at 2 o'clock, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 3:30. We've done this since July 2012 as a necessary mechanism for us to try to get this work processed in the new system. We also limit the work on the last day of the month to renewals only, because we always have an influx of last-minute taxpayers. On any of these days, if the business doesn't get as big as we expect it, we are always welcome to take customers as we can. Our first priority is to meet the needs of the customer. We've been hearing from our customers and are extremely excited to be working with Shawnee County, who has developed their own queue system. It's very similar to a reservation system. You've probably heard about them in Johnson County and in Shawnee County. This will allow our customers who have access to the internet to go online and sign in to a number on the system. They will receive a text message that gives them their number and tells them the approximate wait time, and they will also get notifications to remind them that their number's coming up. Those folks coming in the office will also go into this queue and will be given an estimated wait time so that they can go about their business until it's time for them to be waited on. We are also working on some options for those people that don't have access to internet. We're trying to come up with some ways to actually have them be able to call in for someone, our staff, to be able to go in and give them the number and give them an estimated wait time. At this point in the process, the hardware's been delivered and it's been set up for training and testing, and we hope to have this all together and running by the end of this month. The system has proven for Shawnee County to eliminate the need for people to actually wait for these people in line in the office. They can go about their business and do what they need to do. We have been able to send some of our back office work or salvage titles to some of the smaller counties around Kansas. They've been willing and able to help us out. They're excited to get this kind of work because it's not work that they normally get. And it helps us to be able to get our customers processed a little faster. We have actually been working with one of our local auto auction houses to get a dedicated employee in our office to work on their salvage work. This company processes vehicles for insurance companies that have been wrecked, and they have to turn them around and auction them off for the insurance companies. We are trying to work on an agreement with them so that they subsidize this employee in our office. We are making filling approved vacant positions our highest priority. We have filled 3 full-time positions in the last month and have made final decisions on the 2 available part-time positions we have. We're constantly evaluating staff between locations, and are shifting to maximize the balance of knowledge and abilities between the two offices so that customers in one don't wait longer than the customers at the other office. We have implemented policies internally so that one vehicle staff member at each location cannot be up, no more than one can be off at any time. This allows us to eliminate inconsistencies in staffing at both locations. We have been heavily cross-training and utilizing our Treasury staff to help and step in with the motor vehicle functions. At this time, our phone room clerks actually run the web payments and assist with mail-in renewals. We have a couple of staff members that are actually helping us process motor vehicle refunds, and we actually have one staff member from the Treasury side who's helping us approve titles. This is all subject, of course, to their availability and what they have to do in their own tasks. They also let me step in and help out occasionally. The state recognizes that this process, the approval process, is a bottleneck in the registration of vehicles. When they shifted this duty to counties in May of 2012, the state had 400,000 unfinished titles. As a result of this and the struggle that a lot of counties have had with the process, they are performing a triage evaluation. We have offered our services to be part of that triage. We want to get our opinions out there so that they know the struggles that we're having in our county. How do we make improvements? While we do not have a crystal ball, we recommend the following minimum steps to help widen the bottlenecks that we recognize are there. Add 2 mid-level clerks in the downtown office to act as frontline support, to answer questions from clerks and customers, to make decisions on acceptable documentation, assist with the front line as necessary, and provide back office support. This will enable the approvers to dedicate their time to doing just that, approving and following up on this title work. It will also help the backlog in the back office to get the work done in a more timely fashion without pulling clerks from the front line that are waiting on customers in the lobby. This also provides 2 dedicated people to the front line, whereas now they have to kind of just go around and find whoever they can find. We also recommend that we add either 2 part-time or 1 full-time processing clerks dedicated only to mail and drop-off work. This should shorten the amount of time it takes to process the back office work and should get us closer to the customer's expected turnaround time of 1 to 2 days, and will hopefully give us the opportunity to get back the customer who is taking their work elsewhere. We have been working on these issues and trying to come up with viable solutions for almost 2 years since the new motor vehicle system went into effect. We've been thrown a lot of new curveballs along the way, like the commercial vehicle changes that went into effect on January 1st. We have tried to be as conservative as possible when adding new positions in order to minimize cost. Given recent proposed options, my current staff has said to us, without adding more positions, the con is not if we'll fall behind, it's when we'll fall behind. Thank you for your time this evening, and we'd be open to questions or anything you have, and we'd always be welcome for you to come and visit us and ask us questions in our office.
I have a question. When was it that the state turned this registration approval process over to the counties?
May of 2012.
May of 2012. And how many were, it seems that I remember there were a number of dedicated staff in Topeka just for that job for our county. How many?
They had a pool of staff that did the whole state, and I want to say,
to us, they had 4 to 7 people that took just
Wyandotte County.
Yeah, 4 to 7 full-time persons at the state level. And when they eliminated those positions, did they provide any funding to the county to subsidize that?
No, they did not.
Did we add any personnel to our department?
We have added personnel to our department. We've added 1 approver, and we've added 3 full-time, or 3 part-time and full-time positions.
Okay, so we've tried to compensate, but we've had to pay that out of the county budget. This is another example of where the state cut the state's budget but didn't cut the state work, and that the county is being expected to pick up those costs.
Yes.
And that's an ongoing cost because they cut that back in 12.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Kane.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I was in your office Monday of this week, and they don't let anybody in downstairs till 8 o'clock.
That's right.
So then you got to go through the metal detector, and they literally run up the steps to get in line. And
Healthy Communities Wyandotte.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I had 6 transfers, and it took an hour, but the young girl was very pleasant. You know, she taught me we're working on this one, we're working on that one. I thought that your office looked like a well-oiled machine, and that there was one heck of a line. You know, when I left there, so you very seldom get credit. But they told me you were the boss, and they were very pleased with you. And Mark Gilstrap came out and we chatted for a little while. So I wish we could help you more, but the people that you have do a good job.
Thank you.
Commissioner Maddox.
Thank you. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the registration system that you spoke about that I guess someone nearby uses. I wanted to know, even if the registration system is used and people are given a text or an email that says come back, the concern is still that if the process is not changed, you still can only reach 70 people a day.
Correct.
And what becomes the bigger dilemma is that when in this city we've got tag enforcement, which is a big thing, which I'd like to discuss more. How long would an individual have to go even after registering if they have to stay within lines of leaving from work for an hour or 30 minutes? How will this still add up? And I know this is still an issue, but then I also wanted to talk about the worker that actually works 9 to 5. And they work from 9 to 5, they can't get away, or when they do get away, they don't have more than 30 minutes or an hour to wait. So is there a possibility where people can register online? Is this against state statute, or what's the?
You cannot register a new vehicle online. You have to come to the office because you have to present the documentation that's required statutorily. So you have to present the original title, sometimes an inspection, your insurance, and other sales tax receipts, other things that are required for a new purchase of a vehicle, whether it's used from another customer or it's a brand new vehicle. So you do have to come in to do that.
Okay. Well, and thank you. But to, stop the time that a person has to wait is less than half of the battle. The issue is that if an individual can make it work within his time schedule during the day, and then also not be forced to drive around 3 or 4 days without valid tags and hoping to not get pulled over. That's a bigger dilemma and issue that I hear about all the time from constituents, and I receive those calls, and so that's a bigger concern.
Correct. And this system is not going to shorten the amount of waiting time. It's going to hopefully shorten the amount of time that person has to sit in our office. It's going to give them a narrower window that they maybe can go to work, and then when they get that text that says, hey, your numbers should come up in 45 minutes or 20 minutes, they can get to the office, park, get in, and get that transaction taken care of. The system also allows them a little bit of leeway behind their due time before they have to be there. So it gives them a little bit of lead time. It's not going to help the actual waiting time, because the customers are still going to come in, the clerks are still the same number of clerks. That's correct.
Commissioner McKiernan.
Like Commissioner Kane, I was recently in the office and spent a couple of quality hours there. And what struck me was that everyone I interacted with in the office was very pleasant, and it appeared that they were working as fast as they could. What struck me was the volume of information that it looked like they needed to type into a computer, and the number of documents they needed to scan, sometimes a couple of times, through the automatic scanners. How much of that is what we inherited from the state?
We inherited that from the new system. The old system did not require as much information as the new system does. The new system has something like 12 to 15 tabs that are required to fill out, things like color of car, type of fuel, things like that, weights and things like that the old system did not require.
So new system that we chose, or
the state chose?
The state chose for us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When they gave us the opportunity to use the new system?
Yes.
We'll phrase
No
it as an
opportunity.
opportunity. So a question about staffing. You've got up here that staffing, increases in staffing could help possibly cut down wait times, improve processing. What about other support equipment? Would there be the need for additional computer workstations, additional servers, additional infrastructure support for those staff?
We've actually purchased 3 additional workstations already, because we have, the way we're set up, we have our approvers in an office outside of our office so that they hopefully could get their work done. Hasn't worked so well, so they have the workstations actually set up. We have enough workstations set up to support these these people.
So at this point in time, it's really just a matter of personnel.
Yeah, and this addition will not reduce the wait times because we're not adding any frontline clerks. What it's going to reduce is that back office things that you can't get your title for 3 or 4 months or 5 months when you should be getting it after 35 days.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you for the presentation. 2 quick questions. You mentioned the amount of overtime that your employees worked last year. Can you equate the dollar amount of overtime to how that number might offset the additional head count that you're seeking?
I'm not as quick as Lou with numbers, but you know, an average salary of $15 an hour, 280 hours just in 10 weeks. And to be quite honest, this first 10 weeks of 2014 has been a little unusual. We're not quite sure why. There's been a lot of people in. We think that's probably due to tax refunds. People are buying used cars, new cars, whatever. Today we saw a little bit of relief. So Lou can probably fill in what those numbers might equate to.
You might talk about that we don't have paid overtime.
Oh yeah, we don't pay overtime. This is comp time. So this is time that these people are accumulating in a bank that hopefully they'll be able to take later. When you're a busy office like us, it's not always easy to do, especially for our supervisory staff that are probably putting in most of that. So,
what would be the cost with the implementation of the queue system that you talked about? Do you have any idea?
We were budgeted $40,000 to put in a queue system in the 2013 budget. With the system that we're buying from Shawnee County, we're going to come in at around $10,000. We'll have an ongoing monthly fee that we'll have to pay, but it's pretty minimal. We're paying a per text fee to Shawnee County for that support. So it's not a lot of money for, I think, the benefit that our constituents are going to get from it.
What,
No, you can't have my $30,000 for something else, sorry. I can see the trend.
One of the things that I've wanted to do is to be able to collect credit card payments for these transactions. And I made that mistake one time. I paid my registration with credit card and it cost me $30-some
yes.
to use my credit card. And instead of going back home to get a checkbook and wait in line again, I went ahead and paid it with my credit card. It seems like there's a barrier again at the state in terms of allowing us to absorb those fees to encourage credit card payment online. My view is if we could encourage credit card payment online, we could reduce our wait lines. What's the issue with paying with credit cards?
You do get charged a credit card fee that's charged from the third-party bank that's processing that. So that's not a fee that we're paid.
Right.
It doesn't even come to us. It goes directly to them. It is 2.5% of your transaction. There's some possibility that you could absorb those numbers, but they're pretty substantial when you look at web, because they're paying a fee on the web for using your credit card and anybody that walks in the door. When they walk in the door, we encourage them that there's an ATM in the basement, especially when they have problems with that.
Well, my issue for renewals, you can do renewals online. It's new purchases you can't do online.
Right.
But the renewals are a high volume.
Yes.
If we could get more, the question would be, is there been an evaluation done of how many renewals online would take people out of the office if we offered them for free? If we absorbed that cost, the 2.5%, and offered it for free, could we incentivize people to not come in, which would reduce the workload in the office?
Right. The state actually did waive those fees. If you remember, when the system first went online in May of 2012, there were such long lines everywhere in the state of Kansas that I believe from August of 2012 to August of 2013, the credit card fees were waived and paid by the state. I don't have the numbers as far as what difference that made. It did make a difference. The other issue you have with actually going online to do your web renewal is that your insurance has to be available through the data process to be able to go online. If your insurance company isn't providing that information to the state, you don't even have that option. And that's that little pin that comes on your renewal notice. If you see that little pin, that means your insurance company is providing that data to the state so that they can put that information into the system. If you don't have it, and a lot of our customers who have some of these smaller insurance companies, they don't have that availability.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you for the information. One of the things I want to say is the folks who come into your office are taxpayers, tax-paying citizens. There are some people who choose not to pay their taxes, and there are most people who do choose to pay their taxes.
Right.
And I want to say, anyone who comes in to pay their taxes, we want to thank them for paying their taxes and for being responsible that way. And any way that we can improve our customer service, obviously you have good, friendly people online, but if there's any way we can improve our customer service by reducing wait times and showing our appreciation for our citizens who are coming in to pay taxes, it's going to be money well spent. We need to, I don't know that we can do enough to show our appreciation to the taxpayers for coming in. So thank you for the work that you do. All right, anyone else? All right, thank you very much. That brings us to the last item on our agenda tonight, and that is our land bank portion. We have removed item 1 because that was a non-action item. That was a discussion item that is not ready for action. Oh, that's right, thank you. We do need to adjourn the meeting, and now we're reconvened as the Land Bank Board of Trustees. Let the record show we formally adjourned and formally reconvened as the Land Bank Board of Trustees. We now have an item on the consent agenda.
Move for approval.
Second.
Let the record show no one is rushing to remove this item from the consent agenda. It is properly moved and seconded. We want to thank Mr. Slaughter for his presence here tonight. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox?
Oh, hold on, we do have a question. Commissioner Maddox? Okay,
Thank you.
so on this item?
Yes.
Okay, so we need to pull this item off. It is now off the consent agenda, and it is before us.
Thank you. Chris, I just wanted to say, when we speak about whole properties, what's the...
It's not the agenda. That item's off the agenda.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that's off the agenda.
Okay.
We're at the technical assistance grant.
Okay, and I had a question for that. Okay, if we are approved for the technical assistance grant, what does that provide us as a commission moving forward with economic development in the community?
Good evening. The grant, if we're awarded, will strictly be focusing on strategic code enforcement. So Center for Community Progress, the organization that is putting this application for, or request for applications for this assistance, they're kind of the nationwide experts on abandoned and vacant property and strategies on how to deal with them in communities. So they would come in if we are awarded. They will probably do an evaluation of our code enforcement overall program, make some recommendations, recommend some changes, that kind of stuff. Probably come back either through me or Greg Talkin or themselves and present to the board on, here's where you are, here's where you should be, and here's what you do to get there. So that's kind of in the nutshell what it is.
Okay, thank you. That was a concern because, again, my area, my district does have a large amount of vacant lots and abandoned properties, and so just to know exactly, I know I don't sit on the standing committee in which pushed it forward, but just to know what the process is and what the goal was of the grantee was important. So
anything we can do to make ourselves better and more efficient is generally what we're striving to achieve.
And can you send me a link in which I can look up the actual company or?
Sure,
okay,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Roll call. Maddox?
Aye.
Kane? Markley?
Aye.
Walters? Dilbert?
Aye.
Walker? Townsend?
Aye.
McKiernan?
Aye.
The motion carries 8-0.
And that concludes our agenda. We are adjourned.